Welcome back to Current Pest Control. Today is Saturday, November the 20th. We're heading back out to the bee yard. I thought for sure we were going to be done with getting the bees ready for the winter with our last video. Unfortunately, after I got going through the remaining 20 other hives that were on the property, I found one that was a little suspect. It was really light in the way of bees. Only covered maybe one frame of bees in a double box setup, or a story and a half. I don't remember what. I think it's a double D. So I've got the nuke in the back of the truck right now from the water meter box cutout from a couple of weeks ago. So we're going to go through that box, double check to see if there was a queen. There was eggs, so I just went ahead and closed it up. But we're going to go through it today, take a look, see if there is actually a queen. If there is a queen, then I'm going to do a division screen board in between the two boxes and put this nuke down below. So ultimately what I'm trying to achieve here is to not have 20 frames of drawn comb destroyed from wax moths or rodents over the winter. I need some bees to be able to protect it. And I know that this nuke box could use a little bit of space. I mean, it fills this 5-frame just fine, but there's still a lot of capped honey within this box, some resources that they can take advantage of, and really give them a good jump start for the spring. So that's my goal. We'll get to the bee yard. We're probably about another 5 minutes out right now. We'll take a look and see if we can find a queen, and from there see what we need to do. So stay tuned and let's see what we got. Y'all coming or what? Alright, we're on site, on location, overlooking what's left of the broomweed. Not a lot of forage left out here. A lot of wind though. Plenty of wind to get a smoker going. So this hive right here is the one that we're concerned about. This is a stack of 8, and then I've got an extra one back there. So I'm gonna crack this one open. Whenever I looked at it last time, they were only in the top of this box. It's just one frame of bees. So what I want to look for is, I want to see if there's actually a queen in here. See, there's some brood, and there's some larvae down in the cells. I don't know if you can see that on there or not. I'm filming today with my GoPro, so I don't have my typical camera because of how windy it is out here. I didn't want it to get knocked over from the wind. We got bees emerging. So let's pull up this last little bit. I haven't seen the queen just yet. I'll definitely put her in the shot if I can find her. And there she is. There is a queen. So what I'm going to do is do a division screen board and let this hive that I brought out kind of add to the warmth of this colony. Being as few bees as there are in this box, I'm not too concerned about whether or not they've got enough food, because they've got more than enough for what few bees are there. So let's get this thing split apart, get it tore down to one box, and then I'll get started on bringing over these other bees. Sorry about the wind activity. That was just completely blowing out the speaker, so I'm having to resort over to a voiceover to go through this next part. What I'm doing is just going frame by frame, trying to analyze the condition of the frame that I have, what kind of food resources are on it, is it pollen, is it nectar, and then ultimately what do I need to pull out so that way I can make room for these 5. You see there that I just pulled out a blank frame, not drawn out. This one right here is a frame from a cutout. It's not on plastic foundation, so it's a prime candidate to pull it out. What I'll do is end up putting this out in the yard away from these colonies so that way it can be robbed out, and then I'll just use it for swarm catches in the spring. This frame right here is what I consider wonky comb. They've drawn the comb off of the foundation, so ultimately this frame will need to be scraped down after the honey is pulled off of it, and then I'll be able to utilize that frame after I recoat it with wax in the spring. So now we've got the box cleared out. We've got the 2 frames left. Those are mostly covered up with pollen. It's hard to see, but you can kind of see the difference in coloration between the comb and the pollen cells down in it. So it's a lot of food resources for the bees. There's still some 2-to-1 sugar water in this 1-gallon feeder here. So what I'll do is I'll crack open this nuc and then start transferring the bees from the nuc box into this deep box. Sorry about that. Went ahead and dropped it down into the bottom of the box due to the wind. So what we're going to do here, because these bees are, I don't want to say not tied down to the nuc box that they're in, but I've designed these pallets to where I can easily put a queen excluder on the bottom and lock into the W clips, so that way I can ensure that the queens have to stay in this new setup without impeding the ability of the workers to be able to get in and out. It's not ideal, because ultimately if they ever do try to requeen and I'm not there to catch it, it can be problematic. You could end up with a virgin that never gets mated. Ultimately it'll cause your colony to collapse. So it's more of a temporary solution than it is a permanent fix until they get anchored to this new location. So what we're going to do now is just start going through frame by frame on these 5. Again, these are, with the exception of one, because I only framed up 4 frames from the water meter box. So 4 of these frames are loaded with honey, so plenty of food source for them to be able to get through winter. And then with the pollen frames, there's plenty of open cells for the queen to be able to lay. I was not able to locate where the queen was at within these frames, just going through frame by frame. Although with as many bees as there was and as windy as it was, I did not want to waste too much time with trying to go frame by frame, moving bees around, and trying to locate her. The last thing I wanted to have happen was the queen get blown off the frame into the grass, me not see her, close it up, and then ultimately the colony collapse from not having a queen. Now granted, because we are doing a division screen board, we do have that queen still above, so should something ever occur with that queen, we can easily introduce that queen down below and help them get through the rest of the winter. So the way I'm staggering these frames, I'm putting solid honey sheets to the outside, and then we've got it followed up with the pollen frames, and then we're just going to stagger in what were the brood frames within the colony itself. I thought we still had a little bit of brood on this center frame, but unfortunately it was all honey. The queen is already shut down for winter. There's zero space within these 5 frames. This last frame that I'm pulling out, it's actually a medium frame from one of my other bee yards that I took over from somebody else, and it was in a deep box, so you can see where the bottom portion of this is all drone comb. I'll end up culling this frame out in the spring. I've got a medium box that I can cut that drone comb off of and then put that frame to good use. As dark as it is, I may end up just scraping it off, power washing it out, coating it with fresh wax, but I haven't decided just yet on how I want to proceed. So now that I've got all 5 frames in the box, I'll take and dump these bees that are left in the box onto their new hive after doing a quick check just to make sure the queen's not in there. I want to try to minimize the little debris that's left down in this box from going into the hive. So you'll see in a second where I'll just take and pour it onto the lid, so that way I can take and pour that little scrap from them cutting out wax cappings and keep it from going into this new box. Okay, so now I've got the lid being set right in the middle of the deep box, so ultimately the bees can run left or right directly down into the box. But you see on the left side where all the pollen is, or the wax cappings is left behind, it'll stay on that, and then I'll be able to dump it off to the side away from the colony. Leaving that out of the colony is actually ideal, because if that was down in the base of the box, that is an excellent source for hive beetle larvae to flourish, or even wax moths that can get in there and lay their eggs into that location. So what I'm doing here is just kind of scanning over this pile of bees. I just wanted to see if I can maybe get a quick glimpse of the queen. Unfortunately, she doesn't show up in this set as well, so I end up just taking and easily brushing the bees off because of how chilly it is. It was about 64, 65 degrees whenever I was doing this, but with the high winds, they wanted to stay clustered up, so they didn't want to move a whole lot off of this board quickly. So I just take and comb through them, see if I can see the queen, but ultimately get them to move down into their box. Okay, now that we've got them all smoked down into the box, this is my division screen bottom board. It's one that I made out of just ripping up some 2x4 and then using 1/8 inch hardware both on the top and the bottom, and then used a router to create that small entry point on the top board, so that way it can be used as an entry on the back of the hive away from their original location. Now we could take our original hive, put it right on top, and now they'll be set. I'm going to put a reducer on the front of this hive here. It's not going to be perfect, but let's see if we can give them some. There we go. A a little bit smaller entrance, so that way they can get accustomed to it and get going in the right direction. So that's all I've got for you today. I'm going to get all this cleaned up, get these extra frames taken back, get them in the freezer so that way I can hold on to them for next season, for swarms and splits and things like that. But thanks for watching. Keep on watching. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Have a wonderful day.